So let's just get centered and check in with our breath. We're in whole woman posture. Belly is relaxed. Chest is nicely lifted, but we're not trying to lift it in the seated position. We do that when we're standing. Shoulders are down, upper back flat and broad, and then we're pulled up through the back of the head and neck, and that pulls the chin in. So, humans breathe differently than animals that bark and scream. It's very interesting. And I found this in some obscure scientific literature, but animals that bark and scream, like dogs and monkeys, um, the length or the duration of their in-breath is the same as their out-breath. Um, and actually, they vocalize on the in breath. We can't even imagine doing that, you know, trying to speak as we're breathing in. Um, what we do is we take these short gasps of breath in, and then we speak these long sentences, and we vocalize on the out breath. Um, so what that has set up in the human, or what the human has been designed, is a better way to put it, is to have the cadence of their breath fit the golden proportion. And the golden ratio or proportion is just, it's a geometric concept where, say, you have a straight line or a rectangle, and you divide it to get the golden ratio. You divide it in just the right spot where the small part is to the large part as the large part is to the whole. So it's called the golden ratio or the golden mean or the golden proportion, but it is at the foundation of everything in nature. All the flowers, the seashells, the pine cones, the snail shells, animal horns, galaxies, leaf patterns, everything matches the golden proportion. The human body does as well. So many of our bones have evidence of that. But our gait, our natural human gait, and actually a team of Italian researchers proved that a few years ago that natural human gait matches the golden proportion, but our breathing does. So, and there are someone named Fibonacci, another Italian. He found that the certain number patterns from one all the way to infinity um, are what creates these spiraling infinite patterns. And so the numbers 3 and 5 and 8 and 13, they are the beginning numbers that match the golden proportion. So in the whole woman work, we often use that to bring our attention to the breath. So breathing in for 3, and you can just count. Actually, and the way I discovered actually that the breath fit the golden proportion was using second hands on the clock, and you can easily find this out for yourself. It's very interesting. But we just count in for 3 and out for 5. And if you're wanting to be, get into a contemplative or meditative state, you can slow that down and breathe in for 5 and out for 8, or even breathe in for 8 and then out for 13 if you're real settled. We really can't go higher than that. We don't have enough breath to go any higher than that. But I often match my breath to my walking steps when I'm out walking, especially with my hiking sticks. And that's a really wonderful way just to kind of get into the zone. And so this natural breathing, and we see this in all babies, all young children. It supports natural posture. It creates natural posture, really, because it's the breath that is, we breathe into our lungs, but then that creates all of this intra-abdominal pressure. And it's a lot of intra-abdominal pressure just sitting, using the strength of your own spine, breathing, talking. We're creating tremendous amounts of intra-abdominal pressure. And they go through the body, the torso, the intra-abdominal space, and that's the pelvic space as well. So below the respiratory diaphragm, that goes through the body in a very specific pattern when it's natural. So that's when we're young. It's when we start, sitting in soft furniture, wearing shoes, tight clothing, and especially when, usually at puberty, when somebody tells us to pull the gut in. And that changes everything because in natural breathing, and actually, I'm going to add here because I'm recording this and this is going to be up on the website. So I will splice in a video that I found a few years ago. I was just so shocked because I had been teaching this about natural posture, natural breathing on the internet since 2003. But I found this wonderful animation created by an anatomical company in Australia. And we were allowed to license it. So I've used it now for several years in my work. And it illustrates how, when we breathe in, um, unlike what physical therapists, yogis, all the or Western yogis, I should say. I don't know about the early yogis that they taught this, but certainly they were even about pulling the gut in. Uh, but anyway, we're taught in our medical culture, certainly our physical therapy culture, that normal breathing, the rib cage expands out to the side. And the only way it does that is if this is pulled in, what I call the midriff or the upper abdominal wall, solar plexus, whatever you want to call it, above the navel, right below the breast. If this is pulled in, the only way you can breathe is to reverse natural breathing and breathe with the rib cage coming out to the side. But that is not natural. It's just like we have a choice to stand with our tailbone tucked way under or our tailbone raised. And the same is true for the rib cage. And that choice comes from, do we want to pull this in and breathe, become chest breathers and the rib cage coming out? Or do we want to breathe in to the upper belly, right under the respiratory diaphragm? It's also in singing, opera singing, and that it's called diaphragmatic breathing. And it's the same thing, breathing. So you allow the natural movement of the rib cage, which is rotating up. The last set of ribs, instead of coming out, they rotate up. You can feel this actually. They kind of disappear because they've rotated up on the in breath. And on the out breath, then we just release. We don't try to pull this in further. But natural breathing is so, so very important because it's not only pelvic organs, and Graciela and Norma, if you're with us now, and whomever else, everyone else that will be with us. It's not only the pelvic organs that sit at right angles to their channels, so urethra, bladder, vagina, uterus, anal, rectum, sigmoid, colon. Um, it's all of the abdominal organs, all of the organs that move fluid through the body sit at right angles to their channels. So when we are chronically pulled in here, which we are in the West, everyone is, except, people that are familiar with the whole woman work. I don't know of anyone else that's teaching, no, we need to release the abdominal wall. We don't have a so-called inner corset, as one teacher of posture out there teaches. That is a cultural contrivance to purposely, habitually pull this in. Um, so when that is pulled in, it brings the stomach in line with the esophagus. The stomach is when it's held out here naturally, and it's not a flopped out, it's not this, it's a proud holding. But this is out, it's not pulled in. Um, but when it is pulled in, the stomach becomes in line with the esophagus. We become very subject to acid reflux and hiatal hernia, which is just sucking the contents up of the stomach up the pipe. That doesn't happen because it has an elbow, just like the kitchen sink. It has an elbow. And the contents stay in the stomach. They're not sucked up the pipe. So, that concept happens in the abdominal area. It happens in the pelvic area, as we know. So our urinary continence system, our pelvic organ support system is all based on lumbar curvature and the fact that our abdominal wall sits at a right angle to our pelvis. Our pelvis, our bottom is back here like this, and our abdominal wall is straight. Our pelvis is horizontal. We have the pelvis of a quadruped, a four-legged animal. And a lot of people didn't want to accept that 500 years ago, but that's the way it is. And it has not yet been corrected in gynecology, orthopedics, which is really astonishing. And we're doing our best to change that. So I just wanted to give you those few points on breathing. Very, very important. Throughout the whole program, we're going to breathe in and out through our nose. When we breathe in, the belly's going to come forward. When we breathe out, the belly's going to fall passively back in. We don't pull it in. We leave that for male yoga, but that's not what we do. Okay, so let's go ahead and begin.